Namaste, welcome once again. Um, I thank you all for joining the session today. I understand these are trying and difficult times for all of us, in spite of which we as educators are focused and we are working, we are striving to upskill ourselves so that, the interest of our children, we are able to do justice to our children, and most of all, we are able to upskill ourselves so that we are equipped to handle their learning needs. So with this, I would take a moment and again kind of reiterate the housekeeping rules right now. Please be on mute. I would request you to stay on mute as I share my screen with you. Secondly, towards the end of the session, we will have a question and answer round. In case you have any questions, you may put them up towards the end. I will be sharing the link of the Google form from where you can download your certificates in the WhatsApp group. I will also be sharing the handout of my
Hello,
presentation in the group, WhatsApp group. And
hello, ma'am.
yes,
Sorry, you're not audible. It's not clear, ma'am. Sorry to disturb that.
ma'am, I will check my connectivity. I would request you to do the same, please. All right. So as I was saying, I will be sharing the collaterals in the WhatsApp group, the recording of the session that I'll share by tomorrow. The Google form for certificates and the handout will be sent to you in the WhatsApp group immediately after the end of the session. So let us begin. All right. So we are here to discuss how can we prepare effective lesson plans for teaching online, because now over the year we have understood that the remote, the hybrid or the flipped classrooms are here to stay. And this was not a temporary arrangement that happened in the last year due to the pandemic, but this is something which has become a part and parcel of our education fraternity for the forthcoming years. So, all the more reason for us to be able to adapt to the current situation, the current environment of teaching and learning we are in. Before I start off, I would take the opportunity to introducing myself to you. I'm an extremely passionate early childhood educator, first and foremost. I'm still pursuing my post-graduation degree in teaching the pre-primary and the primary from the Asian College of Teachers. I have level 3 certification from the UK Council of Awards, Care, Health and Education. I am also the territory head of the Early Childhood Association, the Indore chapter. As a resource person of the All India Educators Forum, I'm here to take this session today. I'm a storyteller by heart, since I deal with young children, that's the best way you can bond with them. So I am extremely fond of storytelling. I have learned storytelling from the SEAC fraternity. SEAC is the Storytelling, Education and Arts India Council. I am also on the advisory board of the 100 community, which is a global community and it deals with innovations across the world, from where we are taking worldwide innovations in edtech, in social emotional development, which is happening, and we are ensuring that equity is maintained and it is reaching out to each and every child who is deprived. So we work extensively in reviewing innovations which are suitable for children and that can provide equity to them. Uh, my most favorite is that I'm a mother of a most amazing daughter, and that is our picture. All right, now this image which you see in front of you, I saw this on social media as I was researching. I was browsing through the social media and I came across this. And this image it is a metaphor. It is a metaphor of what we all are going through right now. All right. So when I say what we all are going through right now is in, when we started the year 2020, we were all excited and we were like, oh, I have a amazing unit plan and amazing activities planned for my children. And this is what I'm going to do. So we had, I'm sorry to interrupt. Okay. Uh, Somebody is on unmute. I request you to please take my request a little more seriously. It is humble. Kindly be muted. All right. Thank you. Yeah. So as I was saying, this image is a metaphor for us. When we started our session in the year 2020, we had huge plans for us. We had plans like, we are going to do so many activities for our children. We are going to have amazing units, lesson plans. But suddenly we were told, forget all this. Schools are shut. You have to teach from a screen. You have to teach through a screen. And then we again started making some more plans for remote teaching and learning. We are all in the same boat. We started making some plans. And then ideally by the end of the year, this is if you see the actual teaching in the image, this is what actually happened, because again, it was a new thing for us. All of us was exploring it. So we were kind of in a confusion state. We didn't really know how to convert our lesson plans from a physical classroom to a virtual classroom. But nonetheless, over the year, we grew. We learned so many skills. We kind of researched. We adapted from each other. We learned from each other. We even copied each other in some ways so that we can learn and benefit our children. In the same context today, we are now going to understand specifically that what is it that we require, what are the criteria, what is the mindset, what are the plans, specifications we need to have before we start teaching the children virtually in the online space. So in the next 40 minutes here, we are here together, we will be discussing this along these points here. We'll first talk about the online teaching environment. What is it that curtails this environment? We will talk about the Bloom's digital taxonomy. So I'm not sure how many of you went through that video I shared in the WhatsApp group about Bloom's taxonomy. It's a theoretical perspective to child development. So we are going to discuss that. Next, we are going to talk about the 5 E's of instructional design. So once we know the environment, once we know the theoretic perspectives of child development, we now need to understand the instruction design. We need to understand how we need to deliver those concepts so that the child development in theory actually takes place. Finally, we will understand what is the structure, what should be the ideal structure of an online lesson plan. And of course, I have 1 or 2 sample lesson plans, which I will show to you. So we'll start with the Bloom's taxonomy. Now, this is, in very simple terms, if I may explain to you, it is a hierarchical ordering of cognitive skills that can help teachers to teach and students to learn. So very simply put, it is one ladder, one sequence in which a teacher can understand that how we need to place our progression, how we need to have build upon our lesson plans. So from one concept to the final outcome, how do we need to develop it? It is a framework essentially, and it gives us ideas to put which activity where whether we should have a worksheet for this assignment or not, whether we should have a group activity, whether we should have an individual activity. So these kind of things, Bloom's taxonomy helps us to understand. So the video which I sent to you had the theory part of it, and the diagram which is in front of you right now translate it to the digital platform. So digitally, this is what it looks like. Let's take it one by one. First is the remembering. Now, when we start with our lesson plans, we share information, knowledge with our children, and then they're supposed to remember. They have to understand the key parts in that particular concept. They try to understand that. The knowledge is shared with them over here. This again is something which can happen through question and answers. It is a also it helps us to kind of connect to their prior knowledge. This is the first basic level of a lesson plan where we share knowledge and information with children. The next is the understanding. So now we have to explain to the children. We try to make them understand what that knowledge is. So they have to put it into understanding whatever information and knowledge they have. So these are two different things. Knowing something doesn't mean that you understand it. So gradually the lesson has to progress to understand the concept. The next level comes when you have all the information, when you have understood that information, how do you apply it in context? So, you can draw connections between ideas. There's a lot of critical thinking that happens in the application. And for this, a very important tool which we can integrate in our lessons are the games. So there is a concept of gamification, game-based teaching, which has come up during the pandemic. So at this stage, at the application stage, we can now integrate that aspect where children actually apply what information they have, what information they have understood, and relation to the concept, they can now put it into application. The next level we reach is the analysis, the analyzing process over here. Now, what happens? This is again something which is a more matured phase of the lesson plan, the sequence in the lesson plan. Here, what has happened that children have now been able to draw information from everywhere. They have been able to apply it in the context. And now what they have to do is they have to integrate all these learning systems. They have to integrate all these aspects, and now they start drawing inferences from there. They start making recommendations from the information, the understanding, and the application they have achieved through the previous lessons, through the previous delivery of concepts. Next, we reach the evaluating phase. So now this is not evaluation in terms of the assessment model, which we normally do, the grading system. Here, evaluating is when you evaluate the concept. So what did I understand about the concept? What did I not understand about the concept? So that you have to think, observe, and that you have to put down in your lesson plan. So that will close. It will kind of give you a closure as to when you started with the concept and from where you have to reach in that particular concept. Again, this is, something where you can integrate a lot of collaboration between the children. So even in our digital platform, there are many tools which we will listen to later, which can be integrated at this level. Finally, we come to the creating level. So this is the ultimate level of a child's learning journey, where where we have progressed so much in our concept and we have dwelled so deep into our concept, into the understanding, where now the creation has started happening. So there are new ideas, new thoughts which occur and which children are able to produce to us. So we have to understand that when we sit with a pen and paper and we decide that today, in the next month, we are going to take the concept of, say, animals. So we have to break it down into these stages. Over the month, we have to understand amongst into the levels 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How will that lesson progress? And that is again it is very suitable to the child development theory, which is this is the way in which the children will learn step by step. Right. So as I said, that now that we know what is the theory behind child development, how will children learn? Now that we know how will children learn, we have to understand how will we now transact the concept into instructions. How will we convert our lessons, our concepts into a delivery mode for our children to be able to understand? So for this, the first stage. Now, I would like to mention here that there are many instructional models in teaching and learning across the levels, pre-primary, primary, higher classes. There are many instructional models. But I have chosen the 5 E's instructional model because personally I feel that this model is extremely child centric. It keeps the student or the child at the center of learning, and here it gives opportunities for children to construct their own understanding through various experiences. So somehow this appeals to me the most. The first stage here is of engagement. So, at the engagement stage of your lesson plan, we have to understand that children have to understand what is the relevance of what they are learning. And how do we achieve that? We can do this by having a lot of brainstorming activities, discussions for pre-primary. We can ask them open-ended questions. Primary children can have a proper brainstorming session where they can draw mind maps and what do they think about that concept, what is their understanding of the concept. Again, at this stage we are drawing information from what they already know. So this is, we are assessing, we are trying to evaluate the prior knowledge of the child with regard to that concept. uh, some of the online tools which I find most effective in this stage are, one I have tried using the Mentimeter. So Mentimeter is a platform where you can construct a lot of mind maps with children. It's an online platform, and there is another software which is called the Google MCQ forms. So through Google Forms, you can create a lot of MCQ questions, and online you can use these tools to achieve this stage for children in your plan. The next stage is the exploration, the explore. So here now what we have to do, that children now start investigating the concept. They are now understanding the idea, the thought of what entirely entails to that topic. Everything around that topic now they are exploring. Again, how do they do it? They question each other, they talk to each other, we give them opportunities to have a lot of, again, a lot of discussion, hands-on activities. They even develop hypotheses in this stage where they try to understand how things work, whether the concept is relevant in the practical scenario or not. So a lot of open-ended work happens. It goes deep. It can dwell into a lot of research also. But at this stage, for the pre-primary, pre-primary level, by that I mean the preschoolers and the kindergarten, for them, we will have to provide material for them to research. So, all the recorded videos, modules which we share with them, the stories, those things will have to go to the children. We can share links with the parents and they can show it to them. So the exploration happens, and then we can further discuss it in the online, the face-to-face platform. For the primary children, we can directly ask them to research. So we can give them a topic and we can say, you Google it up, read articles, watch videos, and just research, find out whatever you can about this particular concept. Next, we move is to the explanation part. Now, explanation is again here something I would prefer to do this on a face-to-face platform where we get a chance to interact with the children. Whatever they have done in the previous 2 phases, this is the time where they put forth. So this can happen through documentation, which they can do prior. There are many online tools which are available. Even Google Classrooms, Hangouts, Meet, they have that particular option where children can upload whatever research they have done, whatever new findings they have come to, and then the teacher can discuss it with them. For the pre-primary, again, the explanation will happen only through the virtual and through the face-to-face, through a lot of activities where you do one step, the child does another step, and subsequently you complete an activity together simultaneously in a live platform. We are at the fourth E, which talks about elaboration. So here is something where opportunities. It's one of the higher order thinking skills, a challenging level of children to be prepared for. So now your lesson plan has to have a challenge in it. So the basics have met, children were engaged, they explored, there was a lot of explanation that happened. So now we have reached an optimized level of thinking for children. And here, exactly in this stage, children now begin to again apply whatever they are learning. How can they do that in the digital platform, in an online and an offline concept here? They can make a lot of presentations here. Children are able to understand the concept, they can break it down into points, and they can present it in terms of a discussion or a, kind of sharing, understanding and sharing of that particular concept here. So what happens here now, children can even draw inferences and make connections to real world problems. So the concept which we dealt with, for example, if we're talking about animals here, now children can make connected to the real world problem. So, in case, are there animals getting extinct? Are they endangered species? What can be done about them? So those kind of higher order thinking skills, higher order probation, the possibility of challenging children comes in this stage. Flipgrid, again, I suggest, I recommend all of you explore that tool. It's a very nice tool where children can actually record themselves and put forth their ideas, their thoughts, their understanding, and it is convenient for us as educators also to review them and get back to the children. The final stage we come is to the evaluation. Now here evaluation, again, like I said in the Bloom's taxonomy, is not again about the grades. It is about understanding at the end of the lesson that have we done justice to the lesson. Whatever we set out to accomplish, whatever our learning objectives were, did we meet? Were we able to cover all those areas of learning for our children in that particular concept? So it is about how did we learn, what did we learn, did we have any misconceptions about the concept? If we didn't have any misconceptions, is there something we would like to know more about that concept? So these kind of thoughts, these kind of analysis is what we do towards the when we come to the conclusion, when we are drawing close to the end of the concept. And that's the plan, is, when we are culminating the concept, so that plan towards the culmination will assess the learner's measure, whether it could reach the goal or the objective. So now, once we have decided, we have understood the theoretical perspectives, we have understood how children are developing, what are the steps in which they are developing. Now we need to understand that what is the structure of our online class. Once we understand the structure of our class, we'll be able to convert it into a plan. It goes in reverse. First, we have to visualize it. We have to understand what is that 30-minute interaction which I'm going to get with my children is going to look like. What is it that I want to do with my children? So first we will visualize, we will conceive that at that time, and then we will break it down into developmentally appropriate practices. So in the forthcoming slides, I will be talking to you about structuring your online class with developmentally appropriate practices. So ideally, the structure, it should do one primary thing. Since it's a remote mode of teaching, it is something which we are doing for the first time. Children are not used to it. The first and the foremost thing we have to keep in mind is that we have to support our own role in that lesson. In that particular platform, we have to understand what is our role in building relationships with our children and their parents, because we understand that in the pre-primary and the primary classes, children are still forming, they are still understanding the world around them, they are still making connections, they are developing emotionally, socially, not only physically and mentally, so there's a social growth also that is happening. So first and foremost, as teachers, we have to understand that our primary goal when we are interacting with our children in a virtual medium is to form strong relationships with our children. And if I may say this, I have observed in my career that children don't learn from children they from people they don't like. So if they don't like you, they don't like to learn from us. So first we have to strike that friendship with them to be able to move to the learning part. Again, this is not just something which has come up. There's research that shows that once you have the close connection between the teacher and the child, between the teacher and the parent, it impacts the child's literacy, higher language, cognitive, social skills also. So here, if you observe, it doesn't talk about academic skills. It doesn't talk about the rote countings, the rote ABCs, the numbers and things like that. It talks about the higher order thinking skills. So relationship again is what the heart of the matter is. Now, the online classes or pre-recorded modules are not comparable to our physical classrooms. We need to be very sure of that. Now, we have experienced it also. Over the last year, this is a lesson well learned by all of us. We know that we can't just replicate physical classrooms into the virtual, and it is not going to serve any purpose. It is not going to benefit the children. So what do we do then? We have to build a rhythm again of developmentally appropriate activities. Now, when I'm using this word developmentally appropriate again and again, because we are talking about a specific age group over here. We are talking about the pre-primary and the primary children. So this is a very important developmental phase in their learning journey. In the educational journey of these children, this is the most important phase. So as educators, as teachers, we need to be very careful when we are jotting down our lesson plans, that are we including activities that a child is suitable or equipped to handle. Ideal way to plan a lesson is to plan it for the average child in your class. So if you have a group of 20 children, you need to plan your lesson in such a way that it is challenging to the average child, because most of the children are at their level. You'll have a few who are extremely bright and a few who may not be so bright. But that's why the lesson plan has to be on an average scale for children. So we should include all areas of development in one activity, like the physical, the cognitive, social, emotional, language, literacy, numeracy. It is possible to integrate these areas. When I say physical, what can you do for physical? It's any kind of movement you can integrate. With any concept, you can integrate some kind of a movement. Cognitive is, how do you have cognitive development? When you maybe ask children to guess something, you pose a riddle, you ask them to guess, or you ask them to think, or maybe recollect something and respond to it. Social emotional is again, you ask them to bring a toy and talk about it, or any other experience they want to share with you. Development happens all the time. When we sing, we do a lot of rhymes with this age group. So that's when they learn new words and numbers, and a lot of pre-math concepts are learned as we play along, as we do activities. So a good structure to the lesson plan will have these features. It will have a balance between the active and the quiet moments. Now, when I say active and quiet moments in a virtual space, the active is when both you and the child, the children on the other end, both of you are engaged in some kind of an activity, and there's movement and there's a engagement. The quieter moments are when you are delivering a concept, or maybe through a story or through some kind of a conversation. Those are the quiet moments. So we need to alternate between them in our classrooms, because we kind of figure out why we need to balance it out in the slides ahead. Provides many opportunities for children's participation. So this is the most important thing we need to keep in mind, that our lesson plan should have enough scope, enough room where children are getting a chance to participate. It is not we just talking to them or giving them information. Uh, the last point here is that it accommodates differences in attention span. So, as experienced educators here, we all understand that children in this age have very little attention. They're not, they get swayed, they get distracted, and more so in the environment, because they're not in school, they're at home right now. So there are all kind of distractions at their residence. Now, this is again a bit of theory. This is something I have mentioned the source in this slide. I have taken it from one blog I read, and I found it very interesting. It says that there is a particular time period for which a child can maintain focus on a given task. So this becomes very crucial for us now, because when we are planning a 30-minute session, we need to break down activities into the attention span of the child. So if we are planning an activity for a 4-year-old, we can't plan an activity or an assignment or a worksheet or any kind of a video which is more than 8 to 12 minutes, because ideally the child will lose the concentration by then. So we need to keep these parameters in mind depending on what age group are we working with. So keeping that chart as the baseline, now that we know we have, we are still not sure how the next academic year is going to look like. So, assuming it is going to be similar to last year because of the prevailing situations, it is always a good idea to begin slow and then build up the concepts over the months when the children are familiar in the space. So, like I said, it is important to remember that children are at home. They have all kind of distractions at their house, and it is a new thing for them. It is one thing to watch a video on an app or an iPad, and it is an entirely different experience for a child to sit in front of the screen and see his friends over there, his teachers over there, and he's expected to be schooling on the screen. So it's always a good idea to begin slow in your lesson plans, and then decide the pace by gauging the reactions and the involvement of the children in your class. The ideal thing to do when you plan yourselves, you should always plan to tell children what is it that is going to happen in your class today. So normally I would say it out to the children. I'll say, okay, we are going to sing a song, we are going to play a rhyme, we listen to a story, and then I will share something for you, which you can do at home. Now when you keep doing this again and again in every interaction, when you start doing it, children start looking forward. And after the session also, before coming back to the session rather, they think that, okay, what is she going to do today, what are the 2 3 things we are going to do today. So I've written 4 here doesn't mean that there are 4 things you have to do. You can do as many, but whatever you're planning to do, you should tell the children that this is what the agenda is, this is what we are doing today. Of course, in our classrooms, we may have children with special needs, so we should cater to their learning levels also. So, if visual aids are required for them or any specifications are required to them, simultaneously, parallelly, we should prepare for those also. A few considerations here before we move to the next segment of the presentation is that in the plan, when you have a plan which you want to deliver, say maybe in 2 interactions, and you realize that it is taking longer than usual, it's fine. Children are not participating, they are not able to contribute. It's a good idea to pause for a minute over there and say, okay, probably in these 2 interactions this plan didn't work, children were not interested, let me pause here, let me allow some kind of involvement of the children, and then maybe in the subsequent week I can pick up from here. So it is entirely up to the child whether they want to participate or not. Of course, it is our responsibility to probe them, but beyond a certain point, you can't really insist that they answer or they engage with you, because we don't know what is the background at the house. So that faith we have to give to the children. Interaction and movement is important. Now, there's a difference between participation and interaction. All right. So, when I say interaction and movement is important, interaction can happen through non-verbal gestures also. So, interaction is, you're doing an activity, you're doing something, the child is working side by side. She may not give you the full attention, but that work is happening. So you have to be mindful of that also. And movement again is important. It is a physiological need of the children. So maybe after every 1 or 2 concept, you can keep one small transition activity, which can be a finger movement or a neck movement or an eye movement, or maybe you can just ask them to get up and jump at their places or jog at their places. Simple 2 minute physical movements are a must on a virtual platform. Again, connection is more important than everything going as planned. I am a firm believer of this particular theory that we have to have a connection with our children. That has to be our utmost priority. The academics will follow. Only the connection which we can develop with our children is going to yield results. It is going to benefit them more than the academic part. So I will keep saying it again and again that you have to understand the importance of connection with the age group we are working. So I have a few pointers here which you should keep in mind when you sit to make your plan. First, don't think teaching. Okay, don't think that I have to teach this thing to my children. No, think that we have to interact and we have to connect. And while we do that, we will talk about this concept. We will discuss this concept. So you will see how wonderfully the thread will weave automatically. You will probe, you will put a question to the children, they will share their experiences with you, and the connections, the build up will happen. Of course, you need to have pointers because you need to know the questions which you are going to ask, you're going to facilitate, you're going to lead the activity, but don't do it in terms of teaching. Do it in terms of interaction with the children. Also, don't think what they are going to learn. Okay, so for example, if you think that your class is extremely fond of playing, maybe say Simon Says is one of the favorite games I have observed in most classrooms, especially in this age group. So you probably feel that children say to you every time that let's play Simon Says. So don't fret about it. Say, okay, we'll play Simon Says. Try to figure out how you can integrate your concept into that game. So it's not you're thinking, how are they going to learn? What are they going to learn? We are thinking, what is bringing joy to the children? Playing the game is bringing joy. So fine, let's integrate our lesson plans. Let's integrate our concept into Simon Says. So the actions of Simon or maybe the instructions of Simon can be converted to your concept, the delivery of the concept. Don't think how I can fill time. Think what will be most meaningful. So again, don't go by the book. Don't think that 30-minute interaction I have to finish. I have so let me put 4 activities, 5 activities here because how will I complete that time limit? So no, don't think like that. Think that is this activity required? Is the level or the complexity of this activity suitable for a 4-year-old? Only then add it to your lesson plan. Even if it takes 2 activities for you to able to achieve, if it takes 2 activities to achieve that concept, to achieve the understanding of that concept, never mind, just put in 2 activities only so that within that 30 minutes you can do justice to it. Because again, a very important thing which we should remember when we are talking dealing with the children here, that they require a lot of repetition. They learn through a lot of repetition. So instead of putting too much, put little, but revise it. Recaps, revisitations, recapitulations are the key. Quality engagement is important than quantity of activities. So that's exactly what I was saying. All right, so I now move on to sharing a few plans I have, the sample plans I have here, which I felt are suitable for the preschoolers. So we can start with an arrival song. There can be an interactive game after that, a story time, a short interactive movement, like I said, the finger play and things like that, the question of the day, and the goodbye song. Now, I am a firm believer that the arrival and the departure, the arrival and the goodbye here, these are two important connection points for us. Because children are coming in the morning, and I hope you remember that when you are in the classroom, there's a whole ritual that takes place for the arrivals. In most preschools, I have seen, I'm sorry. In most preschools, I have seen that children come to the class. So either they give a high five to the teacher, or they hug the teacher. There's a chart put up there. So which action would you like to do? And the attendance is done through the ice cream stick. So you pick up your stick and you put it in the pocket. So it's a whole ritual that we do in an offline class. So why should we miss it in an online space? We can easily, we cannot do it in that manner, but we can again customize it to the space we have. So we should think about this and incorporate it in our plans. The interactive game is again an opportunity for us to discuss, deliver a concept here. So through a game, one concept we can plan, which can be, it can be an introductory concept, it can be an extension. So it depends on exactly which phase you are in for the concept. A story time can also be integrated to the concept, or it can be done as an independent feature also. So again, that's a call we need to take depending on the entire curriculum we work with. Interactive movements, again, I said, are like the finger movements and basic physical movements. Question of the day, again, is important here because it gives opportunities for us to give children a chance to interact. So, you know, when we pose a question to the children, we allow each one of them to answer what is their opinion about that particular concept. So, this gives an opportunity to all of them to talk and share, which is ideally one step towards forming connections and engagements with the children. And finally, of course, the goodbye song, like I said, I feel it's very, it plays a very important role, you know. So you close the session lovingly and you say, fine, we'll see you tomorrow. I also have one arrival song and one goodbye song, which I will be sharing with you in the subsequent slides. Yeah. So for the primary level, this plan will look slightly different because, you know, in our fraternity, we are extremely bothered about the literacy and the numeracy aspect. You know, we pay too much attention to literacy and numeracy. So we have to have one or two activities related to that in our plans. So which is why this is the split I have given. You do an arrival song, you have a conversation topic, a story time. Now again, it's at your discretion. You can also club conversation and story time together if you require a longer time to deliver the concept or if you want more interactions with the children. You do a math song or a math game and then the activity. Movement again. So if you notice carefully, the activities here alternate between quiet and active spaces. So one activity is a quiet space, one activity is an active space. So we have tried to alternate it like that, so it is kind of spread equally in the plan. Yeah, so this is what I was talking to you earlier. Think of the arrival song or game as opening the door to your space, and think of the departure song or game as closing the door to your space. So, you know, this can be a very important connect that can be formed. I have two examples here. Um, let me sing it for you. So for this, you know, arrival song, this is a time where you can again get a chance to call out names or to interact with each and every child as they come, as they start joining in one by one in your online platform, you know. So you say, where is Priya? Where is Priya? Do you see? Do you see? Oh, she is here today. She is here today. Hip, hip, hooray. So, you know, eventually, like this, you can sing for 3, 4 children. And towards the end, when you close, this is in the tune of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, you say goodbye, goodbye. I sure hope you had fun. Goodbye, goodbye. I sure hope you had fun. Tomorrow is another day. We will laugh, sing, and play. Goodbye, goodbye, everyone. All our friends sure had fun. So, of course, you can make your own tunes. I'm sure we all know many tunes now, so we can word it. You can also word it as per your suitability. So, I just thought it's a good idea to give two examples. Well, moving on, I have two sample lesson plans which I thought can be an example to you of all that we are trying to discuss, how it can be engaging for our children. So the first one here I have is it's about five gray and squeaky mice. So I will present it to you in terms of delivering it. How will you do it with the children? So here goes. 5 grey and squeaky mice, polite and especially nice, eating some most delicious cheese. Yum yum. One jumped into a hat to hide from a big old cat. Now there are 4 grey squeaky mice. Squeak, squeak. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 grey and squeaky mice, polite and especially nice, eating some most delicious cheese. Yum yum. One jumped into a hat to hide from a big old cat. Now there are 3 grey squeaky mice. Squeak, squeak. 1, 2, 3. 3 grey and squeaky mice, polite and especially nice, eating some most delicious cheese. Yum yum. One jumped into a hat to hide from a big old cat. Now there are 2 grey squeaky mice. Squeak, squeak. 1, 2. 2 grey and squeaky mice, polite and especially nice, eating some delicious cheese. Yum yum. One jumped into a hat to hide from a big old cat. Now there is 1 grey squeaky mice who lived in his special house. So, like this, if you notice, this plan integrates many concepts. So, of course, it's a pre-math concept which we have learned over here. It has a lot of repetition, so children are learning about vocabulary also. And when it talks about, being courteous and polite, so even a social emotional thread can be weaved out from this small activity. Another sample I have here is that, we can have these indoor bingo games we can play with the children. If you want, you can ask the parents to help the child. Like in this case, it's written, look around the house with your child, looking for the following things. So maybe they can, children can go with their parents and they can help them. So something to look around the house, faucet, black shoes, can, blanket, toy, storybook, rug, toothbrush, spoon. This kind of a bingo sheet we can send prior. Again, in this scavenger hunt, I have tried to integrate a few pre-math concepts. So I'm trying to explain to you that how one activity can integrate many areas of learning. So, along with the movement, children are learning math concepts like, in this case, they're learning shapes. So bring me a circle shaped thing or a square or a triangle, something shorter, something taller, and so forth. Now, I have experienced that, sometimes skills like motor skills, fine motor skills, visual appeal in terms of art, inquiry is a miss in the online platform. We only talk about hardcore subjects, English, Hindi, math. So this is one demo, sample lesson plan, I think, which will convey what I'm trying to say, that you can experiment and you can really do a lot of, you have a scope to do a lot of things in an online space in your lessons. So, you begin by asking the children, what is a line? And then you show this and you say, okay, a line is a dot that went for a walk. A line is a dot traveling through space, a lot like an airplane. So, there are 2 basic kinds of lines. A straight line. So, children, do you see here? This is a pencil. It's a straight line. We also call it the sleep line. What do we see here? One more straight line and one more straight line. So one line is the sleep line and the other straight line is the standing line. And what is this? This is a curved line. Do you see a curved line here? On your ball, is there a curved line? Now let's find some lines in the next image. Do you see a straight line here? There it is. I see a lot of straight lines here. Who wants to help me? One more, So the window panes have the straight line, and oh, even the computer has a straight line. So the stand line and the sleeping line. Now let's find some curved lines. There it is. One more curved line. Now children, can you find a straight line in your home? Can you find a curved line in your home? Please do that for me and we will discuss it in the next interaction. All right. So, you know what I wanted to deliver in this particular concept was that you try to make connections with real life situation with children. So whatever they see in the environment, they are able to understand better and they are able to relate it to concepts once they know that they have seen it somewhere. So you know, I've tried to use things which are children are familiar with to explain them. Even these are strokes. Ideally, in the classroom, we do this as pre-writing strokes. You know, so before you give them a crayon and you give them a worksheet and you ask them to do the activity, it's always better to build an understanding of the concept. So this was one example. Now, I have listed down a few resources for you. So, you know, when you are actually sitting down to prepare some plans and, you know, when you think, how can I practically apply the taxonomy in my classroom? So what do I need to do for that? So this resource I found, which will be very helpful, it across all the levels, it tells you what actions, what other activities, what actions can the children do. So when you're clubbing whichever level you are at, you can pick up a few ideas from this and you can integrate it in your plans. I have also listed down some online resources which I have used myself over the last year and I found them extremely useful. Most of them are free, so you know we have access to it. But of course, they are from some of them are from you know different countries, Finland, UK, and the US. So we'll have to try to bring it down to our local context. But by far, they are easily accessible and very child friendly, is what I found. And these are some of the math links. So with this, you know, I think I have tried to convey that how important it is to for us to think through before we plan our lessons for our children, even in the online space. You know, it is something which has to be thought of very carefully and something which we just can't disregard in terms of, you know, just putting one, two activity here and there, because we have observed in the last year that there is a lot of gap which has taken place in terms of children's learning. So, you know, once we have better, more researched, more effective lesson plans, we'll be able to take care of the gap also, and we'll be able to ensure that the children don't miss out on their growing patterns, their developmental patterns. So this is how I would like to end by saying that, you know, what we instill in our child will be the foundation upon which he or she or they will build their future. So we have to be extremely mindful about the basics which we are transacting to the children. It should be well researched, age appropriate, and hands-on practical, relatively familiar to children. So we need to boil it down to these three aspects. Thank you very much.